It's Chris from Leisure Games. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a Kickstarter review. I want to thank you guys for already tuning in ahead and watching this week. This is going to be a little bit different take. I know I talked about several of these campaigns previously on other videos, but I find that especially with those pre-campaign thoughts and even when things are initially launched, it's hard to tell the value of a lot of these campaigns because a lot of things get revealed later on and a lot of stretch goals are met, or a lot of things are added in terms of add-ons, expansions, extra bions, terrain, miniatures, things like that. So I'm going to take a look back actually this weekend with the things that have launched over the last 2 weeks and now give you a better take on what the actual value is now as opposed to what it was when things launched, because frankly speaking, there's just not enough information a lot of those times for people to make an accurate decision. Because really when it comes down to a lot of these, if you're like me at all, is you look at these campaigns or you'll pledge for one of these campaigns for $1 or even at a pledge level, you'll get all the updates, but you're really not committed to it and you're really going down to the last minute or the last several days before you make your final decision. And I've gone several campaigns in a row where I have made that decision in the last day or two based on what I have seen, what has been unlocked, what I perceive the value is, and what I perceive the game to be at that point different than when it launched. So as always, these views are always my own. No one's paying for me. You know, when I hit a certain subscriber amount, I'd love to start like a Patreon to let people in, find some way to interact and find some way to get supported. But until then, this week, since we're doing Kickstarters, it's brought to you by Trekking the World. Again, not paid preview because they have my money, I don't have theirs. Anyway, we played this, played it with my 6-year-old this week. I'll maybe get a review on it out there later, but very interesting game, a little bit of a combination of Ticket to Ride and Century Golem, if you will. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to go to the Kickstarters here. And the interesting thing about Kickstarters right now is that although there's a few bigger ones on the block, there's nothing earth-shattering to me. There's nothing groundbreaking in that sense. But I think the interesting thing is that you have many, many, many games that are breaking the 6-figure digit funding goals. And so I think that's interesting because people were always concerned about the bubble. Is the bubble going to break? And no, the bubble's not breaking. The bubble is being more evenly distributed. You're not seeing these massive high-end 6 figures into 7 figures as frequently, but you are seeing many, many, many low 6 figures, many more than were previously. And I think you're seeing that because you're getting a lot more developers and a lot more of game design that is being spread, and the wealth is being spread and the knowledge is being spread. And so you're just seeing a better overall, not necessarily a higher ceiling, but a lower basement in a lot of these situations. So I think that's what you're seeing with all these campaigns, and that's what I'll do a few of my thoughts on tonight. Rock on. Sporting Spider-Man tonight. You know, if you're like me and you have Kickstarter bookmarked, you know, there are two ways to sort. People sort by new, which is going to catch you up on everything that comes into the sun and catch a few of those under the radar gems. But otherwise, if you're like me and you bookmark this regularly, you're going to be doing the popularity. So what's popular? What are other people looking at? What are other people backing? And so that's just how I'm going to do things tonight. And to make it real straight and simple, we're just going to go straight through the big ones here so you guys can see. And I can give you my thoughts on everything coming up right now that's out. Agropolis, this is one, I'm going to do this because it's only got 9 days left. And it is a wallet-sized game, an expansion, a standalone expansion for Sprawlopolis. I was familiar with Sprawlopolis. This isn't something that's on my radar. Normally, it's not something I'm going to play. It's not something I'm going to be looking for. But if this is your type of thing, I mean, obviously it's doing really well. It's at 70,000 funding. So it's almost one of those that's at a 6-digit funding goal. So that's pretty impressive for a wallet-sized game. Now, for me, you know, I really, the solo thing doesn't do it for me. I understand why people play solo. Sometimes I've played games solo to learn them, but from primarily standing, I don't play solo. So for me, this is an easy pass. You can see, obviously, by the reviews that it's got the Seal of Excellence by the Dice Tower, and I know a lot of people don't give that credence, but these guys don't give that out to everything. So from that side of things, if you're going for something solo and you're in the solo market, you know you're getting a quality product by a quality designer who has an established record out there. So I think that that's something to know. Now, it says 1 to 4 players, but I mean, the majority of people that are getting this, in my opinion, is going to be for the solo play. So for me, I'm going to be passing on this just because the other thing I look at is you look at it from a price standpoint, from a value. I mean, you're going to get your value. I mean, it's going to be it's a $10 game for what it is. $10 on Kickstarter, whatever the shipping is. I'm assuming shipping is relatively low. Otherwise, that $16 to $10 discount really doesn't do a whole lot for you. You know, if you're a P&P player, $3. So I mean, you can't beat that a whole lot for a game. What I'll say though is a lot of these games for me, kind of like the tiny epics, they don't fill that niche. They're too short to be lasting from a filler standpoint, and they do not make it in the longer term, I want to play this over and over again game. And so for me, I look at that $10 or, you know, the $20 if you get both of them, or the $30 if you go all in. For me, it's I could use this $10 or $20 for shipping for something else that I'm super passionate about, or $10 or $20 for you know, an expansion for something else that I love, rather than, ooh, it's only $10 or $20. And I think a lot of these games that are funding on Kickstarter lately, or that a lot of people have for trade, oftentimes when I see the trade lists on Facebook and Reddit and things like that, these are the games that pop up. These are the games that you're going to get secondhand in a bundle in something like that if you want them down the line. The tiny epic games, you see them all the time secondhand. Plus or minus the exclusives, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but that's why I don't back these as well, is because you can get them at a later point in a bundle with things. I like the how to play. It's relatively simple. It's relatively straightforward. You can see this isn't a mystery game where you're going to be wondering what you're going to be doing. If you look at this and you take a look at this page, you're going to know, period. It's got your common reviews, nothing spent fancy or special about this. We've got a few quotes by a lot of the good guys. What's Eric playing? I follow him. A lot of these other ones, free expansion. I mean, this is how you get people in. Not stretch goals, but either you're going to discount, you're going to give me some exclusive, or you're going to cost reduction for someone else that's going to be getting it later. So for me, a free expansion is a hit normally. That's what I'd like to see in these campaigns. But personally, again, I just don't see this game being a good fit for me, and I don't see it being something that I look at as something I enjoy in the first place. So value-wise, as I said, I see this money better spent for another game that I would prefer to be playing on a regular basis from that side of things. Also, you know, I'm just not a fan of these secondary items. Whether it's, and we'll talk about this later with another campaign, I'm not a fan of the RPGs. I'm not a fan of the art prints. I'm not a fan of the pins and the t-shirts. I just don't see a lot of value in it. I don't really like that. I like my things plain and simple, as you can see with the Spider-Man. I like them, you know, just straightforward and minimalistic, if you will. And I don't really have any interest in wearing a game publisher's design around on my chest. It just doesn't do anything for me. So from that standpoint, I see these more as artificial funding goals. I'm glad to see, obviously, that they're not tied in with stretch goals, which makes me a little bit more okay with them in this sense. But again, it just doesn't do anything for me. But that being said, that's number one on the popularity list right now. Number two that we're going to go look at tonight is Thunderstone Quest. And this is one that just came out. And again, I'm going to do this one because it only has 9 days left, because a week from now, you know, I may not have a chance to do it. And I don't think this one is going to drastically change. Thunderstone Quest, quests 9 and 10, I believe, The Enemies Among Us. Again, you're looking at a project that is well in the 6 figures. It's probably going to hit double this. It's probably going to hit around 350, 400 in the end. And the one thing that they've done differently this time, if you're familiar with this deck builder, this redesign of Thunderstone in the first place as a deck builder, dungeon crawler-esque, is that they have gotten rid of the stretch goals. They've gone to unveilings. Which is sort of what they did a little bit with Dead Reckoning, what AEG did. And you can say what you want about Dead Reckoning. That was both good and bad at the same time. This one is more of the same. You know what you're getting. If you like Thunderstone Quest, you are going to like this. It's got a more theme. It's got different enemies. It's got different good guys. You're taking a good guy that was in the thing previously, and you're making it a bad guy. It's got a good how to play on there. I actually completely missed this the first time around, and I ended up doing the second Kickstarter, Express, where they got it to me for the same price as the first Kickstarter, but I got it almost like a month after the Kickstarter ended. So I liked that they allowed for that. That being said, the biggest concern I have with this, just like I've heard elsewhere echoed, is that, I mean, you look at this, you're getting Darkness Rising. So they're telling you what you're getting. There's no mixers. This is randomizers. You're getting your dungeon tiles. You're getting your base games, your heroes, your classes, your, you know, everything like that. If you like it, you're getting more of it. If you don't like it, this isn't going to change your opinion. Bonus loot. Now, this is the big one for a lot of people. The last expansion that they put out that we all got, there was a vote. I somehow, frankly speaking, I missed it. So I was completely oblivious, and I'll take the blame for that as well. people voted for no box. So everybody got these small cardboard boxes with all these individual decks wrapped inside, and there were tiles in there as well, and a lot of people's were damaged, and a lot of people were pissed, rightly so, because the packing on this in the first place, if you're even going to do something like that where you're not going to put a box around it in the first place, which is questionable even if you're listening to backers at that point, even if you can't do a small box, and I don't think the cost was really any cheaper by skipping the box, frankly. I'm not sure shipping was any cheaper either. I don't remember, oh wow, big shipping discount. Was that they weren't well protected in the box. I mean, it was basically just a flimsy cardboard box with a bunch of loose decks and tiles on it. And a lot of people's had weather damage and box damage. Mine had box damage. Thankfully, I didn't have any actual tile damage or card damage. But now the question is, I have these couple huge boxes of Thunderstone Quest already, and what do you do with all this crap? I mean, what do people do with Marvel Legendary? What do people do with all of that other stuff? So if you have anything like Marvel Legendary, or DC Deck Builder, or anything along those lines, any of the LCGs, Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror, anything like that, you're like, what do I do with all this crap? Where do I put all this crap? And the answer is, well, here's a Super Deluxe storage box. Super Deluxe, just call it what it is. It's a big storage box for things. Upgraded plastic dividers, I think that's a money grab. I'm not really a big fan of that, so I don't really, I mean, you can print and play, you should be including normal dividers with it anyway, so I don't really think that's worth it, but here you go, again, boom, here you go. You can get everything in, just like their previous campaigns. You want the previous stuff, they're going to almost always give you all of this stuff, so you can get it. Now, the price point for this, that's where it's really going to cost you. Going back to what I said previously, the Tomb of Knowledge, so they're revealing stuff. I don't care if you reveal stuff, but you better be giving me something extra at this point, because I think the other concern about this, like a lot of those other games I just mentioned, is I have so much of this freaking game now, especially with all the games that I have. Why am I going to get more of the same game that I'm not going to get played for? And so this is the first one of this series since I backed it that I'm not sure I'm going to finish through. Now, granted, that being said, it's going to tempt me. Don't get me wrong. It's going to tempt me because it's 2 quests, $75 plus the box. So the box is going to be the real kicker here. Is the 2 packs, if you said $75 before shipping for those 2 chapters, I would have said, heck no, get the heck out of here. That is way too much AEG, slap in the face, not a fan at all. You throw in the box, I hate to say I'm tempted. This is going to be a last minute decision for me. I like that you're giving me the upgrade though with this. I'd like that I'm not getting charged extra, but I am getting charged extra. Frankly speaking, I wish that was an add-on, so that I could choose, maybe make this $65 instead. And I think you'd be more tempting people like me who are saying, okay, whatever, I don't really feel the need for this. Rest of the campaign, you better be showing me something instead of just revealing what's the campaign about and the characters in the campaign like the first update was. I don't care about that, frankly speaking, at this point. Especially even if you're new, or especially if you're a returning backer, I know what's generally in there. Unless you're giving me something brand new and a twist on things, or you're giving me something additional that you wouldn't be otherwise, like a stretch goal, like an additional, hey, you're backing it, here you go, here's a little extra for you. I don't care. Otherwise, this does nothing for me. This does no added value for me. So I want to see something new, and I'm not sure AEG is going to do it. I just don't know. I just haven't been impressed by their last couple of campaigns. So we'll see about it from that standpoint. As opposed to the rest of the campaigns, you're going to see this. This is the usual middle of the thing, middle of the campaign page. Here's all our reviews. Here's all our videos. Here's all our stuff from the previous things. Here's all our add-ons, the Epic, which if you're familiar with, it's one of each card, so you can play it and get it out faster. I think that was a great addition. Premium sleeves. Everybody's got their own sleeves now. Neoprene matte. Every other campaign has their neoprene matte. I'm surprised we don't have metal coins in here somewhere. Shipping. Friendly. I mean, friendly is what it is. $20. I don't know. I find it hard to reconcile myself with the fact that with this shipping cost that you are going to get the new Enemies Among Us campaign and the big box for $20, and if you're going to get the whole champion reward, and that thing is a freaking ton, even though it says it's 15 pounds, for $21 more. Like, I can't imagine that 2 chapters and a box is going to be the same as the champion level. That is surprising to me. It's a little bit insulting on the shipping costs, but I'm not good at speaking to that, so I'll leave other people to. Here's the other stuff. Anyway, I mean, it talks about the rest of this stuff. It's the usual Kickstarter language. It's nothing else in production. Blah, 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 blah. Here's all our usual stuff. I don't think there's anything else down here at the bottom. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't know, honestly. This is going to be down to the last minute. It's only a 9-day campaign, so that's at least a positive, but I think it's going to be interesting to see if I actually end up going with it. Fantastic Factories, I'm going to skip that one right now, but another thing to note, it's only launched this week. It's already at 150,000. Again, another 6-figure game of a known entity that's out there. So it's interesting to see that a lot of that is coming into fruition, which actually brings me to the next two, which is the exact same thing. Windward with a reprint, an expansion in a big box, a known IP that just got delivered, I think, last month or a month and a half ago or so. And they're putting out something else, El Dorado, known for their beautiful stuff, but the gameplay on several of the other ones has been a bit hit or miss for people, depending on what you like. And then lastly, Horrible Guild launching Dungeon Fighter, where you've got a little bit of dexterity, dungeon crawlish sort of stuff. And I'm just going to go real briefly into this one. It's one I was planning on covering, 1 to 6 players, so it's a little bit of a party game. Again, you got your 6 figures. So that's a nice, again, selling point from that side of things. But sort of like they did with Railway Inc., this is the biggest complaint I have about this one personally, is that you, instead of 1 base game and 3 add-ons that you can do, you have 4 individual separate games. And so if you want to get all the content, you're getting a lot of redundancy. And if you've heard me all in the past, or you've listened to me elsewhere or seen my comments elsewhere, is that really grinds my gears. I don't like Aeon's End expansions because I do not need 7 stronghold little health counter things. I do not like that. I do not need 6 of those for the same thing. And so that is the biggest problem I have from that standpoint. And apparently, this is my wife's computer, so apparently everyone's texting her right now. So that's what those little dings are. So great. Thanks, honey, helping me out here. A little support. But otherwise, this is, I mean, you can see what it is. You got your dice, you got your things. I haven't looked at it. I can't give you much detail right now on how this differs from the original. I know there's different themes. There's a little bit different dungeon experiences, so different elements and things like that. But frankly speaking, I haven't looked at it. I wasn't that impressed with the original. I think it's definitely a niche game where you have to have the right crowd of a cooperative, enthusiastic, a little bit silly, that like to roll dice. And that is not everybody, especially when you're dungeon crawling. And so for me, I probably won't back this, but I may include a little bit more of a deeper overview in the future about that. Now, here's the big one that's out there, and this is sunken down a little bit on the popularity list, but it's no further down on the money. You can already see they've hit $2 million US, 23,000 backers, 7th Citadel. This is everything that we thought it was going to be. People were projecting that this was going to be one of the top grossing games of all time on here. I didn't think it was going to be that because I think now you've seen what the 7th continent is. And so from that side of things, the 7th continent is what the 7th continent is. It's essentially the choose your own tile adventure laying game. And if you liked what you saw before, you're one of the 23,000. If you didn't like it, I didn't see enough here of the repetitive grindiness that was going to change it for anyone. And so I think you're going to have the same core crowd. Now, if you want to make a different argument that I would say than in another situation with the original, is that are you going to get your value? Are you going to get your money's worth? Could you sell this for exactly what you paid for? Absolutely. 81 bucks with a free exclusive expansion. You're going to get it right there. They are doing stretch goals. I feel really mixed about this. The first couple times, especially a year or two ago on Kickstarter, I was still very enthusiastic about stretch goals. Now I'm sort of disillusioned about them because I feel like these are all going to be included in that expansion planned already or the collector's core box. I don't feel like there's any necessarily additions that they wouldn't have done. I do not feel like I do feel that there are very few game companies out there like Awakened Realms who say, we're going to do something that we did not have planned. And I feel like everything now is so planned and so marketed and so fake that I'm becoming a cynic now. So can you pick this one up on the second market? Absolutely. There's going to be somebody that buys this. I think the value will hold. But if you are wanting to get it right away on the second market, then you're going to pay a premium, which, frankly speaking, again, if you can be a little pickier or a little choosier, you're going to get it. you're going to get it for about the price. You might have to pay $90 if someone wants you to cover part of their shipping, but there's going to be people looking to turn this relatively soon because, again, you have people that don't pay attention to what the seventh continent was, or they get on the hype and they're new to Kickstarter and they just don't have a clue what they're in for in this situation. So I'm not backing this. The only reason I would back this is just to have it and then maybe turn it and flip it, to be very frank with you. I do not see myself playing this. I do not like this. This is a 1 or 2 player game max, whatever the player count actually says. It's too grindy. It's too repetitive for me. It's too much doing the same thing. Now, do I like a lot of the changes that they did? Absolutely. I like the post-apocalyptic medieval fantasy. I like the customization. I like going through. I like the save feature. I do not like the background. I do not like this theme. This theme doesn't do anything for me here in terms of the bad guys. Oh, there's guys, there's worms. I mean, this is Tremors. This is Tremors the Citadel for me, or Tremors Seventh Continent, if you will. So it doesn't do anything like that for me. 1,000+ minutes for a thrilling adventure. How many of those minutes are you going to be spent doing the same thing you did last time because you died? That's my biggest concern in this situation. And that's where I can't see myself ever getting this out or to the table again. I don't think my wife would be a fan of this either. And believe it or not, that's actually a big decision nowadays, because can I teach her it? Is she going to enjoy it? And so that's a big thing for me. Choose your own character. I mean, they're giving you a choice of 1 or 2, A or B. I mean, it's not really choose your own character. It's choose which half of this you want to. So you're getting a lot of the same iconography, a lot of the other stuff. There's a few more things like, I believe there's a little bit more skill building and things like that there weren't. I mean, you got your actions here. I like that they have this, 30 actions, but the problem is just knowing what those action symbols are doesn't actually know what those action symbols mean and what you can do. So that many iconography symbols to deal with in a game like this, is a ton to begin with, is a ton. It is a big learning curve. And so from that side of things, it's nice to see it on a table like that, but it's very difficult in terms of what you're actually going to be looking at. So I like the fact that you've got tons of NPCs and things like that. You've got a little bit of the Sleeping Gods type of feel, and you've got a little bit more of the dialogue going on, like your Madar or something else like that. But I mean, just even the graphic design, the aesthetic doesn't really appeal to me. So for me, it's an easy pass from that side of things. Here's the skill tree and sort of the effect tree, if you will, because it says that, you know, if there's not only life points, items, companions, things like that, characteristics, but for me, I mean, it's one of those that in my head it sounds great. I know in actuality, having tried to play the Seventh Continent, that this is not going to be something that works for me. So if it's something that didn't work for you before, I don't think there's anything here that is going to change your opinion on that. Here's your Kickstarter exclusive, the collapsing lands, whatever goes along with that, on the edge of peril, the collector's pledge. So that's what you're going to be getting, and that's where your value is going to be, because even if they put out a semi-abbreviated version like they did at retail last time, it's probably not going to be combined less than $81 for both of these. So if that is your plan to pick it up at retail, you're not going to be getting it cheaper. You'll be lucky if you break even. You'll probably get charged a slight premium for those people that are backing it now and even flipping it for a minimal cost. Just probably want to recoup shipping plus whatever. So something to consider. Again, Serious Pulp, I mean, they've done a good job. They have great customer service. They did a great job sending out replacements of all the cards previously. So from the company standpoint, I have no qualms. But from the game, it's just not for me. Just going to pass on it 100%. Another one, this is probably going to be done even by the time we upload this video and get this set, is Streets, the sequel to Villages. It's a tile-laying urban game. And so this is, again, this is a surprising one that sort of flew under the radar. And I think a lot of people have sort of missed it like me. It doesn't do anything for me, again, because personally, I do not like the city builders. I'm just not a big city builder. Suburbia, Villages, things like that just haven't done anything for me in that sense. Castles and Mad King Ludwig, between two cities, there's just something about those that does not click with me. I like tile laying games, and maybe I like this in the future, but it's nothing that screams pick me up at Kickstarter right now. And so, again, I see no reason to do it. Can I just say, again, I'm going to point this out. I don't care how long it took you to fund. I do not care. I know some people apparently nowadays still get kicks from that. I am not one of them. I think that is a useless stat. I think it is a horrible stat. I think it should be banned from the pictures on the front page. Anyway, side note, 8,000 people though are getting this. So they must have done something right. You've got your meeples, and again, meeples are fine. better than miniatures sometimes. But again, this is a very sharp-looking game in terms of the aesthetics. It's, again, going to show you everything that you're doing straight out. You're going to be putting basically just city parts and buildings down, and you're going to be putting them together, and you're going to be putting them with meeples and trying to get the most points possible. And you're going to get a free promo pack with this. So that's going to be where your price point is this promo pack going to be worth picking it up? And so for $13 you can get it retail. It's probably a good price, but shipping is probably going to kill it for that side of things. So really what you're looking at is you're really looking at the standard edition, which comes with free promo, or you're looking at the deluxe edition, which comes with a bit more. And so you're going to be trying to decide that. Now this is a big difference though, between $49 and $13 for the actual game without the promos. So the deluxe version essentially needs to be worth $36, including the free promos. And so you can see promos here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14-ish. And it says retail value of €8. So, I mean, that's not really, so you're still looking at almost a price difference of $26 for the deluxe version. So you're placing buildings, you're putting streets down. When it's enclosed, you're all sold, so you're going to score your points that way. Your meeples are going into certain areas. Earn the most money. Wow. Business expansion. Again, so this is where you're going to get it. Every copy of the game, though. So even that retail. So that's interesting. So that's good to know. You got lots of replayability. Every copy of the game is also getting the consultants. So again, every copy, including that retail, that $13 one. Solo mode, again, I can see that why this has a solo mode. I think that Villages was a lot played from that standpoint. The free upgrades. So this is where it's going to really, where your money is going to be. Panoramic box art, again, does nothing for me. Great, don't care. Storage solution. Man, you're putting a good storage solution. Or is this the standard upgrade? I don't know. It's a little bit confusing on here. The solo player aid, the 5-player aid cards, those should be included. All of this stuff, for the most part, for me, should be included. I don't care about alternative art. That doesn't do anything for me from a value standpoint. So again, it doesn't do anything there. We saw that. There's a promo pack for all backers here. Promo pack for all backers. So again, retail version is the one we're picking up. Free for all backers. So honestly, like right now, I don't see anything in the deluxe version that is going to make me, because this is saying for all backers. All of these are for all backers. I love the fact that this promo pack is getting a ton, it seems like, in it, but I just don't see the deluxe version. Cardboard tokens versus wood. There you go. If you think wood is worth almost $30 of your money over cardboard, then you're going to be getting the deluxe edition, because you're not going to be able to get it. But otherwise, that $13 one is looking like a great value, actually, because of all the promo stuff and the 2 expansions that are included. So if you're going to do it, I would probably back it at the retail level, unless you're really a fan of wood. And I like the touch of wood, but I'm not sure it's worth $25, $30 at least, because I'm guessing that it's also probably going to be slightly more shipping-wise as well. So for me, again, it's going to be a pass, because I'm not a big fan of these types of games. But if you want, take a look at the videos. Rado did one. Quackalope, Quack, hey, love you guys. They did one, but it's not a thing for me at all. Not a big deal. No problem putting your other previous game in there in the backing kit. Sounds great. Shipping is going to be whatever it's going to be. Like I said, that would be my big concern, that you're going to pay $26 for more for just the wood pieces, and then you're probably going to pay another $5 or $10 for the extra. So is it worth over $30 extra when you're getting the same content? No. Pass. Easy pass for me. So hopefully you decide whether or not you're going to back this. We've got a couple other games up here that are newer. I'm going to skip over those. And then you've got a few. So apparently we did not do by Tabletop. Good job, genius me. It just happened to be that all the games that are funding are Tabletop here. So let's make this a little bit easier on ourselves. And let's go back to the Tabletop games. And so we can skip over a few that I don't really care to cover. So a couple new games, a couple RPGs. And you've got your Flourish, one I covered previously. Now this is only going to be going on for 19 more hours. The big disclaimer was these guys by Starling Games put out this big little thing at the bottom that said, basically, if you're not super nice to us on the comment section, we're going to just take your pledge as a donation. And they've changed the wording on it now, so I think it doesn't exactly say that, but they've still said you got to be, basically nice and candid to us, and otherwise, we might risk it. So Toys for Tots, I don't know. I mean, say what you will, Toys for Tots is a great organization. That's a whole other side conversation that I went into last time. Frankly speaking, again, I don't think a whole lot has changed with this. This is a great light filler, 1 to 7 players, simultaneous play that you're going to be drafting and passing, so it's a little bit of 7 Wonders-ish. By the guys who did Everdell, so it's probably going to be a quality game. It's going to be in your DGG ratings of something like a 7, But it says also you're going to be playing this 2 or 3 times in a half an hour, depending on how long it is. So you're not going to be playing. This is not the deepest, longest game. It's something nice and light, something you want to start with or end with. It's going to be fine. The one thing I do like is the 1 pledge level, so it makes it simple. At the same time, I don't really think that this is worth $39 for me. You get the 2 expansions that I'm not sold on, that I wasn't sure what they did by without having to read the rules. I think I don't really need a whole lot of this stand-up 3D stuff to separate people. The victory tokens, again, I think that's superfluous. I just don't see the necessity of it. I like the fact that they have the expansions included, but for me, value-wise, I don't think it's there. I think this is going to be a $20 game with $5 expansions, and I'm not sure you can separate these out because I don't think the expansions have enough content to be warranted separated out, so I think you're always going to be including them. Now, whether or not they have these 3D stand-up things, I think that's maybe where you might see the cost if they're going to try and market it stand-up separately. But for me personally, it doesn't do anything. It's a play, but it's not an own. I'd love to play it. I'm not going to own it. You know, it's got to show me something, or it's got to prove to me that it can surpass a lot of the other fillers that I have already, that are proven already, and that I don't need to pay $40 plus shipping for, especially if I'm not going to like it. The expansions don't do me any good if I don't like the base game, and I don't know how well I'm going to like the base game. So at this point, I'm not going to take a bet. I'm not going to take a risk on it. Shipping's great, $10. It is what it is. So $49 you're looking at. It is what it is. So for me, it's a pass personally. From the comments about the game company previously in combination with what it actually is, I'm not sure if it'll hold its value, frankly speaking. I think you're going to see people selling this for $30 or $35, including shipping later. So I think you're going to be able to pick this one up in the secondary market at a pretty good cost. So I wouldn't worry about missing that one too much if I were you. I wasn't planning on covering this, but I just can't let this one pass. Seriously, people, you are putting almost over $300,000 to make ice cubes. I know they're cool. I know they're D&D shaped ice cubes, but seriously, when we talk about the board game bubble bursting, this is why it's going to burst, is because you guys are backing stuff like this that does little to nothing for me personally. And if you like it, great. If you have $40 to spend or whatever it is, great. I mean, look at this, $90. $90. Not only are you getting a set of dice trays, but they're selling you glasses, shot glasses, in a bucket. Come on, people. Come on. Please, please, please. I mean, I hate to say this, but I hate to even look over here to see how much people are backing it at what level. So $25 is going to get you a dice tray. That's fine. $40 is going to get you 2 dice trays. Dice trays for ice cubes. $40 for ice cubes, people. 800, almost 900 people trading glasses. Thank God there's not too many people there. 4 dice trays. Somehow, if you need 4, there's 300 people there doing that. You're getting the whole thing. You're getting the whole kit and caboodle. Oh my gosh, people. Oh my gosh. People are going to spend their money. This is not going to hold its value. These are $5 at Myers, if you ask me. I don't see this. Buckets, ice trays, things like that. All these. Anyway, I can't look at this anymore. Go buy a game instead. Buy bling for your game. Buy something else for your game. That's just my own personal opinion. So somehow we got set on the page 2 already, but hey, that's okay. It works out well for us. So we are going to go actually to Dinosaur World. I'm going to take a look at this one now. I think a lot of the criticisms are there. Frankly speaking, I don't really like that they did 2 games in one here. The Rawr and Write doesn't do anything for me. Roll and Writes, I think, are very niche. You either like them or you aren't aware of them hardly. I don't think either you have like 6 of them or you have none of them. I don't think there's a lot of people that have like 1 or 2, or if they do, it's the ones that are already highly rated that have gone through retail review and that other people have put out. I'm not going to risk my money on a roll and write that might be mediocre at this point, because roll and writes are not, unless you're going to get the Railroad Ink with the 37,000 promo exclusives, they're not going to hold their value, period. They're just not. You can't even hold a Cartographers with promo with value at this point. That being said, Dinosaur World, Dinosaur Island, throngs of dinosaur lovers, would-be paleontologists that are out there. From everything I've seen, this game isn't terribly different than Dinosaur Island, except you have a little Jeep that you're going to be going around in your tiles with, except this time. So that's the big thing that's different. You've got your wooden meeples. The one thing I do not like, and I think this is just semantics now at this point, people have steered away a little bit from Kickstarter exclusives. So now, instead of Kickstarter exclusives, we've got, only metal coins here, we've got timed exclusives. timed exclusives in order to make you feel good for backing it, but also not to feel like you're getting screwed if you don't pick it up. So you're straddling the fence, and I don't really think you're appeasing either crowd in this sense, but they must be doing something right. Pandasaurus has got a lot of people. Basically, they've said, we're going to hold them for a limited amount of time, and we'll allow you to either get them at retail separately through us or conventions and things like that, so they're not that exclusive. Or we might just allow them to be bought later at whatever. So it is what it is. You got an expansion here. I mixed feelings on expansions that, people rag on CMON and all those other things. But they seem to be the target of this. When other companies are doing this, I just don't see nearly the outrage that you're already excluding a timed exclusive expansion that you're throwing in there for 15 extra bucks for 5 different 18 meeples, basically, for 15 bucks. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. You're going to be doing drafting. And I think a lot of people were a little upset by this, and this is the other main big difference, is that instead of just choosing your workers, you're going to see several cards out there on the field, and you're going to be having to choose them. So if you're not going first, you may not get the card you want, which means you may not get the amount of workers that you want of that kind. So that's a little different. You're simultaneously building, you're simultaneously making dinosaurs, and then you're going through your park on your Jeep. Roll and write, we already talked about that. Price point, again, roll and write for 30 bucks before shipping. I don't care how many expansions or exclusives there are. That's a lot for a roll and write when you can get cartographers or something like that for under 20 bucks on the right day on Amazon. That is proven, that is got a track record that is good. So for me, it's a big pass. $70, again, you're paying for the meeples. You're paying for the meeples here. And for me personally, I don't think it's worth it. I do not like Euro games in the first place. This is something I'd be open to trying if somebody had a copy, but I'm never going to be backing a game like this because I don't think the value holds necessarily. I think the trade value holds. Now, trade value is a little bit different, but I do not think that the money value is going to hold for $70. Will it hold right away? Absolutely, because you're going to have people that aren't going to back this, that are going to say, oh my gosh, I missed out, oh my gosh. But $70 later, nope. I think you're going to be seeing a game for 50 or 55 bucks being sold on Board Game Geek a year from now. So for me, it's going to be a pass from that side of things. And from the critiques I've heard compared to Dinosaur Island and Dinogenics, I don't think this is necessarily that much new. I think it's just a little bit more of a different variation of the same thing. So again, you're going to be paying for what you're going to be getting. You're going to be paying for the dice. You're going to be paying for the meeples. Again, and if they all come with meeples, then you're not even really getting paid that much. Your stretch goals. Stretch goals that do nothing for the box for me. UV coating. I mean, why do we have UV coating on a box? Most of us live in basements and back rooms in terms of where we keep our games and sometimes where our game rooms are. So I don't really need UV coating on a box. First player marker doesn't do anything for me half the time. If you're like me, you forget about the first player marker altogether before you even start playing, let alone while you're playing. And then you've got your timed exclusives, plethora of your timed exclusives. So, I mean, again, solo mode, again, everything has to have a solo mode now too. So that's the new thing because you can't have solo people not backing it. There's a lot of stuff in here. They're putting exclusives into the expansion, which again is a CMON thing, and I have mixed feelings about. I do not necessarily like that. I think you're going to see a bunch of those stretch goals hit. I think you're going to see a fair amount hit, and so they're going to be, close to $1 million, probably 800,000 at least by the end of this. And so whether or not you want to get it or not, maybe depends on how many more of those timed exclusives. For me, it's an easy pass, but I think initially, if you flip this in the first month or two, you'll probably make more than what you paid for it, if it does not. So from that value standpoint, if you're a Euro connoisseur or a Euro toe dipper right now, I think you'll be okay and safe from that side of things. DVG, I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to come back later. Reckoners, this one's ending tomorrow. Co-op, heavy. Heavy gameplay, co-op, all the co-op usual stuff. They surpassed their previous high total, and so Nabu Games is going to be putting a couple stretch goals on here. Otherwise, it's your classic co-op. You've got your normal different players with different powers fighting different bad guys with different powers, with different setups, different elements, different people, different equipments, and so in sense. But that being said, it's more of a good thing. So if you like this, this is going to be appealing. This is going to be everything that you wanted out of the first game because it gives you more unique playthroughs and more unique characters to battle and fight against. And I've heard varying reports about when some people say this has made me read the books. Some people have said, you know what, I can do without the books because it does a good enough job of just entertaining me without them. So I think it's interesting to note. I personally, the deluxeification is a whole nother video, but I don't see the deluxe is great, but I don't want to pay $75 for colored miniatures at this point with how few there are. If I'm going to get miniatures, there would be a ton of them. So for me, it's going to be a pass. This is going to be one that I'm going to look for in trade. I think this holds most of its value, but I think again, there's going to be there's a very small collective of people now that love the heavy co-ops or the sci-fi co-ops, and so you're seeing people within that genre trading games, and you're not seeing a lot of people entering outside of that genre, which is why I think also you're only seeing this at 322,000 and not like 500 or 800,000. So I think that's something you need to be aware of, is that although the trade value may hold, it's not going to be necessarily as wide of population that you're going to be able to trade it from. So there's Dinosaur Island, you're going to get the people that are Euros and some of the non-Euros because of the theme, because of the meeples and things like that. With this, you're going to get the co-op people and the people that are interested in co-op only, and that is becoming smaller and smaller in that sense. So I think that's something you need to be aware of. Personally, I guess I just don't feel strongly about the deluxe versions. I just don't feel strongly these epic editions, these metal components, I don't feel like they're doing anything for me. So I would be probably just as happy with the other ones. So for me, it's probably a wait until retail, if anything else. That being said, this is another game that you're getting quality on. The reviews on there are good on the Reckoners. You can see that Dice Tower, I was going to say Tower of God, that's a whole nother genre of things. They did the Seal of Excellence. So it's a good game. You're getting a solid game. Whatever you want to think about the Dice Tower is that they know a good game from a bad game, whether or not their own personal tastes align with it. It's a quality game, so you know the gameplay is going to be there, and so that's not in question. It's just whether or not the price tag and everything else along with it are going to be for you. And so from that side of things, that's the big question mark. Reckoners is going to be probably a pass for me, but it'd be something I would gladly play. It's the type of game that I would play. It's just not something I would back on Kickstarter right now. I'm going to skip over a couple of the other new ones, but a couple that I'm much more familiar with. Machina Arcana, 14 days left. This was a big controversy. This was a big issue. It's raised $300,000 already. And frankly speaking, I think it's because the creator really took into a lot of the feedback that came in the first couple hours, the first 6 or 8 hours. This was a big thing. This is essentially a third edition of the game. And what they were doing was they were offering a $25 credit for people that were previous backers and wanted people to buy a whole new core box. And people were like, WTF, are you seriously kidding me? Why would I ever want a whole new core box of something that I just bought? I've had it for less than a year, and you're telling me most of the changes are errata and not really that necessary? Just a few items that are slightly tweaked? No way, are you freaking kidding me? And then there was no pledge level. You'll see right here, now I'm pledging for this, so I'm frankly show you. The 2 Eternity expansion, there was no pledge level just for this. People were pissed. They're like, are you kidding me? Are you going to include this? And the comment section was a couple hundred. I mean, there were 400, 500, 600 comments in the first couple hours. And so that being said, overnight, the first night, he said, you know what, guys, I'm wrong. Here you go. Here's your pledge level. Here's the new stuff. It's going to include an upgrade of the cards, because they were saying, well, it's a new box size. It's a new this. It's a new that. And people were like, no, we don't want that. We just want the cards that are really important. Give us that. Give us the new expansion. Don't make us. They were saying just put in $25 under your $1 thing instead of having an actual pledge level. And you can see 1,000, almost 1,100 people are at this level. So that's significant. I mean, that's a huge portion. That is a 25% of your backers are repeat backers. That's massive in a game this size. And the fact that they listened, you've got my $25 for that. This has one of the best art themes I've ever seen. The rule book still is terrible, and they are addressing that. The rule book is going to have examples. It's going to have actual reading through it of what this should look like if this rule goes off. So I like that the fact that they're doing this now. The fact that it's taken 3 times around to get this pisses me off. As somebody who really wants to get this to the table more and can't because of that, when there's a lot of other easier things to learn, not only for me, but for other people. The other thing I'll say is when I opened and sorted and did my 2nd edition, please, for the love of God, put in some baggies. There were no baggies, no organizers in that sense for this game. And there are so many little not miniatures, but standees. And I had to, thankfully, I have a whole collection from other ones. But I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. But I mean, that was why Gloomhaven, the Jaws of the Lion, was so cool, is because they gave you the exact number of baggies, the exact number that you needed. All of that stuff was taken care of. And so it's a little thing, but this is how you earn people's trust, and this is how you get people to back you again in the future, no matter what, almost, is by doing things like this. And so for me, it's an absolute back. It's an absolute great game. I love it. I love the art style. I love the theme. It's not well explored in a lot of other games. It's this Cthulhu-esque without the Cthulhu, with a twist on it. And so the chapters themselves can be a little long, but it's great. I think it's great. I think you should take a look at it. I think the value you're going to be getting, especially if you're a new backer with a 3rd edition, is good. So this is going to be the same price that you got the 2nd edition for. So if you're going, I think it's going to hold your value. I haven't seen people selling this for less than what they got it for. And so it's just whether or not you want the all-in. Frankly speaking, again, you know me, a lot of this codex stuff, a lot of these dice, these sleeves, game mats, not necessary. Don't want to spend an extra 120 bucks on all of that. That gets me 2 or 3 other games. So from that side of things, it's an absolute must-back if you like a dungeon crawler. Now, the biggest criticism is, do you need another dungeon crawler? If you want something that's different than the stuff you have, this is one to get. This is different than a lot of the other things you have. The difficulty level, how things are done in terms of the gameplay, in terms of the tiles, all of monster spawning, all of that is very different. If you want something that's very similar and just a different re-theme, this is going to be one that you're going to skip. The difficulty is going to be too hard. It's not going to be necessarily what you're looking for. But for me, it's going to be great. They're unlocking extra stretch goals. You can see they got extra explorers, extra monsters, just the variability that you want to see. So I like it. They're responsive. They did a great job of turning this thing around, and that's why I think you're over 300,000. I don't think that they would have been nearly at probably half this, like the other campaigns haven't done nearly as well comparatively. But I think this is why this one's doing so much better, because people know that there's a decent product hidden underneath it, and I think that this is starting to prove it. Speaking of second prints, Dungeon Universalis. This is, I'm going to be very brief on this one. $460,000 out of Spain. This is a reprint. It was very under the radar. This is an RPG in the box, dungeon crawler, everything under the sun RPG-ish that you can want. This is the closest thing that you're going to see in an RPG in a box that is out there, period. Period, period, period. 1 to 6 players, war game-ish, but with dungeon crawling. You can get the main level and you can get the upgrade pack. Now, I'd be, again, a little pissed, kind of like Machina Arcana, that you have returning backers already having to get an upgrade pack. And I think that was the biggest thing. Seriously, like, come on. But a lot of people, if you haven't realized, aren't aware at this point that you're going to be sort of guinea pigs on Kickstarter for a lot of these games, because if they do well, especially without a lot of critiquing or fine-tuning that a lot of these new companies and designers go through necessarily, there's going to be a lot of that. So you're going to have to get that. So as much as people rail on CMON for having to put a FAQ out right away afterwards, holy cow, look at the last 2 projects, 3rd print, 2nd print, returning backers. See a theme here? Yeah, it's not just CMON, it's just people like to rail on those bigger companies. But this is going to have has your resin miniatures, it has bestiaries. So this has all the stuff that you would normally see in an RPG. You've got standees. It's got the standees. They went standees, and I give them credit. They stuck to their guns in the first one. I turned this around because at the time I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and so this has too much. If you don't want to play Dungeons and Dragons, this is the closest thing, and this is going to be great for you. Because you can have one player be the DM essentially and be the bad guys in this game that's actually trying to win, so it's a little bit different than the DM. But otherwise, if you are doing something like that or you want to actually have more control, this is not going to be for you. And so this is straddling the fence in a good way and also in a bad way. And you can just see you are getting a ton of crap with this. This box was, I think, almost 25 pounds. So you are getting your money's worth. And with the amount of people that got it the first time around, this was secondary. I think I saw 3 or 4 copies total on the secondary market. So you're not going to be seeing a lot here. And so if you don't back this one, you are not going to be seeing a whole lot of it, because it's definitely not going to come up. It's going to hold its value with the amount of crap you are getting in the box. And I say that in a good way in this sense. So it's something to look at. It's something you should be aware of. And it's got 18 days to go. So it's going to hit a bunch more stuff to be able to put in the box. Outsmarted, I'm just going to say this. This is Trivial Pursuit almost with an electronic portion. and it's got 175,000. So think of all the other games. 2 to 24 players. If you like it, great. If you don't, there's nothing that's going to attract you about this. So it's just something to say that this is something that's going to be out there. You've got electronics. You've got more of these trivias. This is the second or third one that I've seen, and it's making money. People are in the market for it now. Again, most of us are in this so that we aren't playing games like this anymore. But you know what? If this gets people to the table and this gets kids to the table and you're able to play with them and it's a little bit learny, that's not the worst thing in the world to me. Now, how is it going to hold up? 2,500 questions. I don't think 2,500 is that much, especially if you're playing it relatively frequently. But you know, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting take on those quiz shows that were on TV. I think this is the next evolution of it. And so people can do it in their own home. Personally, it's a pass, but I think it's worth a mention. A couple more. Way too many more, actually. This video's already gone way too long. The Thing. Again, the IP, The Thing. It's raising almost 300,000. It's probably going to hit close to 500,000. It's the semi-co-op. I'm not sure whether or not this is worth it at this point. It's a 79 euro pledge. It's a semi-co-op, so it has to be done really, really well. Miniatures, again, those look very generic to me. There's nothing standoutish, nothing that makes me jump off the wall. You've got a couple new things, a bag. You've got a 1, 2, and 3 player mode. Whatever. Terrain, I don't care about terrain. Another new player, another spot UV, plastic gems, plastic this. I mean, I don't think this is worth picking up. I think this is worth waiting and seeing if this is any good, because I think these are so hard to balance that you need to be aware of that. Again, a playmat doesn't really do it. You have another expansion already. Again, I don't think this is a pass for me. This is an easy pass. If it's good, it'll be at retail. You don't need half the stuff to play it because it's miniatures. You can get it as cardboard. For me, it's an easy pass, but it's something that if you like the IP, it's probably something you're going to pick up. But no, on Kickstarter, absolutely pass. Cascadia, real quick on this too, 160,000. It's probably going to be well over 200. It's probably going to be between 250 and 300, it's my guess, when you get all the 48-hour backers. $29, you know what you're getting. Guys who did Calico. This is a puzzly tiling laying game that is deeper than it seems, that's more thinky than it seems. They're unlocking a few extra things. They've got just one pledge. You're getting $29 plus $10 shipping. You're getting a beautiful looking game with beautiful looking art with animals that you can play with your kids and your whole family. For me, it's a back. You can see I'm backing it. I'll be frank with you. I'm backing it. I'm probably going to get it. So boom, there you go. You're getting a lot of quality for what you're paying for. Now, the only question is here is what other stretch goals are you going to get, and what other features is it going to make it worth it? Calico, I've seen it's holding up pretty well at retail, so I don't see it discounted, and I think they're selling it through their website, Flat Out Games, so you're not getting it any different, but you're also not getting it any cheaper. So it's going to be that you're going to get some of the promos and some of the stretch goals that are maybe going to be a little bit of an add-on. So I don't think it's going to be any cheaper. I think its value is going to hold. Calico is being really well thought of right now for people who like the tiling laying game. So I don't think it's necessarily a risk from that side of things. I think if you like it, you're going to like it. If you're worried about value, it's going to hold its value. Again, I don't care about half the stuff. Thicker cards, I like good cards, but whatever. Spot on UV, don't care. Thicker tiles, don't care. Additional tile art, I kind of like that one. Thicker tiles, bags, and things. New scoring cards, boom. There we go. Double-sided score pad. Okay, now you're getting into stuff. So let's see what else they got, but I think it's already worth it. So I think that's a no-brainer from my standpoint. Set of Sword, again, 140,000. Talked about this. You got another 6-figure. You got a solo game that plays up to 4, an expansion standalone of a property that's already well thought of. Why back it now? So you get the Kickstarter exclusive content. They actually have the deluxe copies from the first time around too. So if you missed it the first time, you can get both. Personally, for me, again, as I said earlier with the solo stuff, it doesn't do anything for me, so I'm going to be skipping it. But price point wise, $28, it's not too bad. I don't think it's necessarily going to. I think it sells for about 20 sometimes in the secondary market. So unless you're going to get those promos with the deluxe, then it's going to hold its value. But if you're not going to get the deluxe, then it's not worth it. So you need to be very careful of this. I personally don't think $75 for both of these games is a great value for me, because this game doesn't do much for me in the first place. But they're doing a little bit of stretch goals in both regards for backer number and money, so you get a little bit of extra stuff. So depending on how many of those get unlocked, I think your value goes up. So if this is a game you're thinking of, it's probably worth it. Now you need both of them. I'm going to say no. I would say if you're going to get this, I think you're getting very similar things in both. And I would say probably with the second, you're getting the benefit of the fine-tuning. And so for me, I'd probably get the second, but for me, I'm not going to be getting either. So just something to be aware of. In Too Deep. Now this is interesting because this only has 83,000. It's a reboot, which I think they're a little bit probably disappointed with, because the whole reason they rebooted was because they weren't hitting the stretch goals fast enough. Again, it's a semi-co-op game. It's hidden player. You're moving criminals to do things for you, and the criminals don't realize it. And so you're taking threat and you're taking surprise, and how much of that you have depends on how well you do in terms of getting caught or not by the police that are monitoring you. Personally, I think this is a wait for retail, because I think it looks great. It's got a few twists. I like the modularity of it. I like the mechanisms, but I'm not sold on how well it's going to be balanced. And if you're going to have one person that's more powerful, or some of these storylines that are going to be easier or harder to do. And again, I don't think the deluxeification is worth it with the miniatures. I don't like the miniatures, and I don't think the cost between the pledges in that sense is worth it for me. So I'm easily going to pass it right now, I think, because your retail game is already 48 bucks, and your next one is 58 bucks, even before shipping. So for me, this is not a $58 plus shipping cost of game for me with these miniatures, which I'm sure aren't going to look as good as they do originally. So with miniatures and the bases and the stands don't do much for me. New storyline, great. You're getting new stuff. Don't care about the miniatures. Stretch goals are very spaced apart, so they have hit very few of them. You can see that they were actually 25 or 50,000 apart. So it looks like since the last time I looked, they closed them down. At least they're adjusting for it, but you can clearly tell that they expected this to get more. And so for me, it's going to be a pass just from that side of things, because especially if they're closing these down, it means that they wanted them in the base game to begin with, which is always a concern to me about balancing, again, from that side of things. Last couple, Crash Octopus. Boom, Japanese game. If you thought I wasn't going to throw one in there, you're wrong. Super fun, flicking dexterity game. It's got 48,000. That's a ton for one of these Japanese games. But it is, you're flicking little pieces and you're trying to get treasure and you're trying to avoid the octopus. These are also the guys who did Moonbase, which has gotten some pretty critical under the radar reviews as an abstract. So again, it's something to be aware of, something to inquire about. This is, again, the Japanese innovation. I love these guys because they're crazy out of the box. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This reminds me of sort of dungeon drop, only with an octopus and flicking instead of dropping. So I think that the interesting thing is that this hasn't really been duplicated or done elsewhere. And so I think just from that side of things, I'm pledging right now. I'm thinking about getting the Moonbase as well, because I've heard good things, but Moonbase is a little harder to get to the table. So for me, it's going to be down to the last minute about what I do with this one. But if you like dexterity at all, I think this one is worth looking at, because it's almost at 1,000 people too. So this is doing much better than a lot of the under radar indie Japanese games will do. Last two, I promise. This has gone way longer than I expected already. Almost at $500,000. Sort of about where I thought they would be, also sort of disappointing at the same time. The Return to Planet Apocalypse by Peterson Games. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning that's throwing the RPG in. Not everything fantasy like this needs an RPG. And I wasn't a big fan of it with True Bang showing it in, with Conan showing it in, with whatever superhero one just recently threw it in. I can't remember. But I don't need it on top of it. I don't think there's that big enough of a fan base, but apparently they think it's going to raise in some money, so they threw it in there as well. I'm pledging for this right now because I want to see the backer updates. I have not been impressed so far. You're getting the base game, you're getting the Nightmare Pack, you're getting a couple of these expansion bosses, and you're getting this. I thought this Chaos deck was going to be cool. It's a randomizer. They just called it the Chaos deck. So what you're getting is you're getting a little bit of everything. So your miniatures here, they're going to be impressive. That's never in question with the Peterson Games one. So I mean, you can see these things are massive. They're detailed. They're costly. They are costly. I mean, these things. I like some of these. This is your free one here at the beginning. If you're 48 hours, you get the praying mantis thing. But I mean, a lot of this is just gratuity for me, even as demons. It just doesn't really appease me from that side of things. Now, the one thing I'll say with this is the core game by itself is a horrible value from what I've heard at retail, is that there's so little scenario and variability that people say you really need some of these other ones, which raises the price point, because the price point of this at retail is 80 or 90 bucks to begin with. And so for me, that's a hard pass when I have a lot of other dungeon crawlers. This is now described as a tower defense, so you're getting it at $69, and you get one of these packs in, but I think even with that, you're almost needing more of a value. So you're going to be doing, I mean, your 358 people are doing this return back, this new one. But I think a lot of your other people that are backing it now are getting the veteran stuff. You have just as much veterans as you do there. And the All Hells one, 937. So you've got people doing this. That's slightly less. And you've got this one that they threw out there about a week and a half in, as the 666. You're getting everything from last time, which is actually, you know, a good money value. But I mean, if I'm going to put 666 bucks in, it better be Kingdom Death at this point. You know, I can't justify it for something like this. Will it hold its value? No, it won't. I have not seen it hold its value. I've seen a few of these come up for sale, but I have not seen a lot of the Hellhelm pledges hold their value. The only ones that I've seen sold on the secondary market have been for probably 80 to 90% of the value. So I think you're losing money. If you like this game, though, this is going to give you way more content than you ever need, and you're going to love it. However, I don't think it's going to hold its value, and it's going to be impossible to move. There's no way you're going to get someone to pay $700 for this as an all-in. You're going to get $500 for it, is my guess. And so, buyer beware. I think this is a good product. The game itself has gotten relatively good reviews as a tower defense game, which is another underrated, underappreciated theme that people haven't really done. Demons is a little bit different. Again, going to hell and Planet Apocalypse. But for me, it's going to be a pass, just because I haven't seen enough new things and enough new at the entry level for me to be able to want to back this. I don't really care enough to pay exorbitant amounts for large miniatures. Speaking of large miniatures, the last game I'm going to talk about tonight is Gatefall. I'll be putting a review out on this shortly. This just funded. Jack Dyer, peace, buddy. You know, you got a great product here. Tom Vassell just did his review, and he echoed a lot of the same things I'm going to be echoing in my review when it comes out shortly. You got large miniatures, you got dice chucking, you got one-on-one play, basically dueling with different powers, where even if you don't hit or damage the other person, you're getting rewarded at the same time. They're throwing in the first chapter for you as well. You're getting it at a good price. And the expansion is $39. This is a huge price point. You are getting your money's worth. These are massive miniatures. I wish I had the game here so I could show you, but they are freaking big for what they are. The detail is pretty good for the size. It's not like what I saw recently with Horizon Zero Dawn. It's better than that. And, you know, frankly, it's just fun. It's just dice chucking. If you like dice chuckers, if you like a little bit of dueling strategic games with a little bit of variability in powers, you're going to like this. And for the price point and for the customer service and everything that he offers, it's great. I was really impressed. I picked it up secondhand almost immediately after it came out. And so for me, I'm backing this and I will be getting this. I hope it adds a little bit more variability because I thought that a lot of the character starting stats were very similar and even the upgrades didn't differentiate them enough. And that's one of my biggest criticisms. But I thought the secondary powers is a nice thing. And so I think this even goes into more depth. And I think Jack just posted on Twitter regarding Tom's review was that this is an entry into this, and he's starting it out more simple, and he's going to be adding more elements. So if you want something a little more complex, he has half a dozen expansions down the lines that he's got thoughts on, and so it's going to gradually add the complexity to it, and so you can get a little bit something more deep than your Star Wars Epic Duels or your Unmatched, like the games that are out there. But this is similar to those, and so if it comes with a little bit more depth down the line, great, amazing. And you have all these different genres, so it's more like Unmatched, where you just don't have the same mishmashing of sci-fi, pseudo-fantasy things. You've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. So for me, it's a backing. It's a great thing. They're going to try stretch goals. He's not huge on them. He's very honest and upfront. I am very impressed by him so far. So if this appeals to you at all, I definitely think it's worth checking out, and I definitely think it's worth trying and even buying, especially at the entry point. So for me, it's a great product, even though it's not hugely funding. So I'm okay with that. Buy what you're happy with. Stay classy. I went way too long. As it went, my opinions are all my own. Let me know what you're backing. Let me know what you're not backing. Let me know what you're excited for, because October is going to be big. Darkest Dungeon. I think ISS Vanguard is coming out by Awakened Realms. We're going to have some big ones. So I want to see, and I'm going to put some stuff out there. Hopefully at some point I'll have some more news for you. I got a few things on my radar, but nothing major. Everyone else beats me to stuff because they get the exclusives and people like to give them the nudge. But eventually maybe I'll be able to come up and scoop some for you too. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.